everybody. Welcome back to another week of Travel Talk. As always, my name is Ali, and I am your Women's Travel Club show host. Today, I have a very exciting, they're always exciting, but I have another exciting show for you. It's a bit different because I know usually we'll go into one itinerary or maybe we'll talk about one destination, but today I'm joined by an awesome guest. I have Neil from AmaWaterways, and AmaWaterways and Women's Travel Club have partnered on a good few charters that we've done together over the years. And we have a good few coming up. We have one in 2025 and 4 in 2026. So I thought it'd be a great idea to bring Neil on, have a conversation about each of these itineraries, give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek as to what to expect, what the boats are like, and things of that sort. So with that being said, I'm going to bring Neil onto the stage, have him say hello, and then we're going to get into things. And again, as always, I encourage you to make yourself heard throughout this show. If you have questions throughout, you want to ask about a specific itinerary or a specific ship, then I'm sure Neil will have the answer for you. So again, utilize that comment section and we would be happy to help. So with that being said, I'm going to bring Neil on. And there he is. Hi, Neil.
Hello, Ali. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very happy that you're here. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm happy to actually be home as opposed to on the road. I'm glad this all worked out timing-wise for us. So
I know. It was written in the stars. I know some of these members who were scheduled on here weren't sure, what's going on this week, but everybody was very happy to see that we're going to be talking about the river cruises. And I know Emma's got such a great reputation when it comes to river cruising, and we love working with you guys. So I was delighted to see that the timing worked out to bring you here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great fun. I know we've partnered up in the past several times, and you know what? The product lends itself perfectly to everybody in the Women's Travel Club. So
yeah, we've had nothing but good reviews, and we're hoping to keep that energy going moving forward. So with that being said, Neil, do you want to give our members a little bit of insight on who AmaWaterways is, who you guys are, what you do, and your role?
Sure. So AmaWaterways is a family-owned and operated company. Two-man family since our inception just over 26 years ago. We even have a Canadian connection in that we were founded on Canada Day. So I always like to throw that in there since I'm repping all the Canadians. It's always good that way. Very unique. We are a company. We are the only river cruise line whose sole focus is luxury river cruising. A lot of the other river cruise companies, it's just a division for them. And we are focused on bringing the best luxury river cruise experiences out there, always developing new and exciting itineraries. And that's when I look at the lineup that Women's Travel Club has, I see that you're venturing out in some of our newer areas, which I'm thrilled about because yes, Europe is our mainstay area, but it really is some of those exotic rivers outside of continental Europe that I find are my absolute favorite because they're really taking you through the heart of and breathtaking countries. And, they are always dependent on the rivers. So the best way to see them is on the rivers. And that's what we do. And that's what we're bringing to you guys in the next few years.
Awesome. No, I'm super excited, and I'm glad you brought up the point of that. Of course, we do have like the Rhine and Moselle. Like it is a beautiful. We've got Europe. That is something, and you guys do a lot of Europe. But our members also like that extra venture to take beyond the expected, and I think that's something that AmaWaterways does really well. Is you take us beyond what's expected, and you take us to that height of luxury that a lot of our members look for when it comes to these river cruises and these destinations. If you're going to go to Vietnam and Cambodia, you do it the best way possible, do it in style, do it in luxury, and I think that that's the core value that aligns with Women's Travel Club and AmaWaterways. So it's a great partnership. So I'm super excited to get into a bit about each of these itineraries and ships as well.
Yeah, me too.
Perfect. So with that being said, the first one, chronologically speaking, for next year in 2025 is the Rhine and Moselle. Now, I do have to say I did sign up as soon as I saw this itinerary become available. I looked at Marianne and I said, can I host it? Because it just looks absolutely beautiful. So that's happening between November 5th to the 12th next year. And it's on the AmaCerto. I'm assuming it's pronounced
You got it. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Europe,
My
European
Italian.
company, European pronunciation. You got it. So
Exactly. So the AmaCerto, it's known, in the river cruising and the Ama community, for its luxurious amenities and the spaciousness of the design. So, do you want to tell us a bit about the AmaCerto
yeah.
as a vessel and why it's known for those things?
Well, I think it's not just the Chair it's our entire fleet. So it was really important to our owners because Rudy is one of our owners, but he's actually the architect and designer of every single one of our ships. And what was really important is that we know guests come back year after year after year with us going on different cruises. So we want to make sure that no matter which ship they're on, they're getting that same core AmaWaterways values and features. So all of our ships are known as sister ships. So you can go from one to the other and an important. It's all good. I saw myself flash off the screen. I'm like, I know she'll get me back, and I'll just keep on talking.
Keep going. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I clicked a button I shouldn't have. Go on, Neil, please.
So all of our ships, like I said, they're sister ships. We want to make sure guests are getting the same experience. So if some of your guests have been on before, they're going to get that same exact features on the AmaCerto, which is lovely. You know, the ships feature a couple of unique features in that. Our balconies, first of all, we call them our signature twin balcony suites because they are an indoor and an outdoor balcony. So you've got that beautiful outdoor balcony experience. You can sit outside, enjoy the stunning views, but we can't always control the weather. So we have a matching mirrored indoor balcony, ceiling to floor windows, table and chairs, so that no matter what the weather, no matter what the temperature, the guests are always able to enjoy that beautiful balcony experience. We got multiple restaurants on board. These are all included for the guests. And of course, when we do groups, there's a few things where we're able to do specially for departures such as this. So depending on the numbers, we've got a second restaurant called the Chef's Table Restaurant, and the Women's Travel Club will be able to actually host their entire group in here. So it makes it for a super special evening for you and your guests on board our ships as well. So
I do have to apologize if you guys hear any background noises here. I am in the office today. I usually do the shows from home, but we actually have a Women's Travel Club intro night happening at the cafe. So I'm here at the office. So if you hear any talking, I do apologize in advance for that. Just had to say that there. But thank you for that description, Neil. I truly appreciate it. And I'm so glad you brought up the balconies as well as something in regards to the weather, right? Like those are the little details that I find that Ama really accounts for in terms of making sure it's that luxurious experience, right? So,
and I love the fact that you guys are going in November, but I always like to point this out. You mentioned weather. Folks, I want to let you know the beginning of November is not the beginning of November that weather that we would get here in Canada. So Europe stays warmer much longer. It's really like late September, early October. So it's an amazing time of year to go over there, enjoy absolutely all the beautiful sights. But what's great is the crowds are not as much either. So again, it's truly spectacular. So don't let that throw anybody off because honestly, it's my absolute favorite time to river cruise in Europe. So.
No, I'm so happy you brought that up because it is something that, people are like, oh, really? A river cruise in November? And I'm like, but it's not an American November. It's not a North American November. It's not the same. You're going to get that, like, it's that crisp kind of like slight breeze, but you're still comfortable enough that you don't need a coat. You don't need
not
like
a big one. No.
Not a big one is what I mean.
No, you're probably looking at 12 to 17 degrees. It's comfortable spring, fall jacket weather. It's a great time of year to go over and really see everything. So.
Now, a question I get a lot from, now it might not pertain particularly to the Rhine and Moselle, but about the river cruises in general is the space allocated for Women's Travel Club. Now, will our members be on the ship with just Women's Travel Club members, or will there be an amalgamation of different customers or other members or other tour groups?
Yeah, at this stage, you guys haven't taken the full ship for your sailing. So it is a group mixed with others. But remember, we are a much more intimate cruising environment on a river cruise. You've got 155 guests on average on each of our ships over in Europe. So the Women's Travel Group numbers are generally anywhere between 20 and 40 people, depending on the cruise, depending on the popularity and such. So yes, you will obviously represent a significant portion of the cruise only because we only have 150 on board. That's the nice thing. What I love about river cruising, especially if you've never done it, is that you get on board, and honestly, you're going to recognize and know everybody probably by day 2. It's a very intimate cruising environment, very different to our ocean cruising cousins. So it blends itself really nicely for that. But of course, again, there's a number of advantages when we have groups, of course, depending on the size and such. There's a lot of things we can do, extra little perks and stuff. Like I mentioned, the Chef's Table restaurant will have a special evening just for the Women's Travel Club traveling guests and such. Depending on the numbers and the tours that are involved, it might also be that we've set you up with your own tour guides so that you're wandering around in your tours just with your fellow members as well. So very easy to do when we've got larger groups like that on board. So yeah. The cruise managers always try to pull out little extra perks for all the groups when they're traveling with us. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I knew I'd get that question a lot, so I just thought it best to have you explain it from Emma's perspective, as opposed to Women's Travel Club. But bringing us back to the Rhine and Moselle, so there's a lot of unique destinations included on this itinerary, like Trier, and I could name them all, but as my members know. Yeah. My pronunciation is never great. So instead of saving myself the embarrassment, did you kind of want to give us a little bit of information on the destinations selected for the Rhine and Moselle?
Yeah. So when people river cruise, generally the most popular ones to choose are the standard Danube or the standard Rhine. So this is why I'm always excited to see when a group is going on some of the lesser known rivers, but honestly, some of probably the most spectacular rivers. Now, the Moselle River is an offshoot of the Rhine River, meaning that you have to connect the Rhine and the Moselle in order to access the Moselle. But the Moselle takes you off to stunning countries like Luxembourg, some stunning scenery. You'll do the Moselle Curve, which wraps around some century-old wineries and stuff. So we'll do that during the day for guests to see. I know that there is an option on this particular cruise. If guests would like to go in ahead of the cruise, they can actually do a package in Paris and Reims. And Reims is the heart of Champagne country, the most world-renowned champagne country in all of the world. And you get a chance to go off some of these stunning chateaus and sample some of the champagne. So if you want to do the pre-package, it's amazing. A lot of times people have been to Paris. This just wraps in a whole other part of France. And then, of course, when you're doing this particular cruise, this is actually going to start in Luxembourg. This is where this cruise is beginning. And it's that cute little duchy. Like a lot of times people have heard about Luxembourg, never had a chance to actually go there. And then you get to go through a few other stunning little Germanic towns, such as Cochem, and you've got Lahnstein, the castle and stuff like that. These are, just very unique to those areas. The tourism isn't as big as it would be on the Rhine and the Danube. So I love it when groups are going down these smaller parts of the Moselle. And then, of course, you're going to get on to the Rhine River. You'll get some of the great highlights like Strasbourg, Breisach, and, of course, back into Basel, which is the port city in Switzerland. So it's a beautiful mixture by doing this particular journey. It just presents yourself with a lot of unique towns with very different backgrounds because of where they are situated. So no, I'm excited for your group to actually do this itinerary. I'm sure some of them have done the Danube and done the Rhine, but this is going to give them a completely different European experience. So
yeah, it's a different perspective. I find that, something with the women's travel clubs like to do a lot with our itineraries is get off that beaten path, get off of the mainstream and take people more into the immersive side of things and show them new things that, like you said, Luxembourg is not, people know about it, people have heard about it, but it's never really on the top of the bucket list. It's not one of those, oh, that's something somewhere, but when you get the chance to go there and do it in a way that we've curated on this itinerary in particular, you're seeing it in a perspective that even if you did book your own tour, you're not going to get the same experience as you would on this ship in particular, especially with the way it on the river, you said it does the curve as well. So I think being able to see it from that point of view, it's probably going to be the best way, in my opinion. But I could say that about everything.
You'll discover uniqueness because our whole point is when we do these river cruises, we want to make sure that guests are getting that full immersive experience with the culture, with the food, everything like that. So the tours aren't just standard sightseeing tours. You'll have all sorts of different tours that you can choose from in a lot of the days, which allows you to customize your touring experience as to what it is you would like to see and do. And of course, the cruise managers give you a lot more information on these tours when you're on board, but we want to match the cuisine to the region. So that's something really unique. What you're going to find, it's not like let's say a typical ocean cruise where here's your steak, here's your fish, here's your chicken. No, all of our food matches to that country. So every single day it's themed to the area because we want that full immersive experience with the cuisine as well. So
yeah, exactly. And then also on this Rhine and Moselle, I'm just looking at our exclusions here. You know, we have the option for wellness activities with a wellness host. And that's something that, you know, you don't really see every day on cruising in particular. That's more of a land kind of, you know, assumed to be activity. But that's another thing that I think is super interesting that is included on this itinerary to take it to that next level.
Yeah. We were the first river cruise line to bring out a wellness host on all of our ships. And the design was that, again, guests get that chance to do activities both on and off the ship. So the wellness host will offer, you know, yoga classes, stretching, all those things, guided hiking, guided cycling experiences. So they can be as active as they want to be or as relaxed as they want to be with AmaWaterways, and it's all included. So
yeah, that's the best part. I think it's everybody's favorite part.
Let's face fact, the Women's Travel Group have women of all ages who travel. And sometimes people have that misconception about river cruising that it's primarily for older people. But our whole idea was that we wanted everybody from people in their 30s all the way up to people in their 70s and 80s to be able to go on this river cruise, do what they want to do. It's all included and really enjoy their experience the way they wish to do so.
Exactly. Well, thank you. Thank you for giving us that insight on the Rhine and Moselle. Is there any other comments you have to make about this cruise in particular, or do you want to move on to the Mekong?
We can move on to all the other. I mean, listen, don't give me a platform to talk, because I can talk for hours at end about every single itinerary. But I know we've got lots. I know we've got lots to get through. So no, just know that this is a very exciting itinerary because it incorporates the Moselle and the opportunity to really go off and see a unique part of France if you want to do the pre-package with the Women's Travel Club too. So.
Definitely. Thank you. So moving on to the Mekong, that one, woohoo! That one is Vietnam, Cambodia. We have from February 23rd to March 4th in 2026. So for everybody who might have joined a little later, the Rhine and Moselle, that is our 2025 November charter. But moving on, the rest of the cruises you're going to hear from this point out are going to be for the 2026 sailing season. So again, February 23rd to March 4th, we've got the Mekong River Cruise on the Amadara. And that one, I believe, has a very specific design to Southeast Asia and the river itself. So can you explain kind of what that means and how the ship was designed to accommodate the Southeast Asian rivers?
Yeah, so we always like our ships to reflect the areas we're traveling through with the decor and all the other stuff. And down in that part of Southeast Asia, it's very much a colonial style architecture, things like that. So that's what you're going to find on the ship itself as far as the look. So the look will be a bit different to our European vessels. But again, just like our European ones, all of our exotics have the same core features. So the Amadara has the signature twin balcony suites. In fact, what's unique is that every single cabin is the signature twin balcony suites. There are no picture window staterooms. There's no French balcony. Everybody gets that indoor, outdoor balcony experience. And we brought the multiple restaurants on board. So again, you'll be able to have your own exclusive evening just in the Chef's Table restaurant on the Amadara. So, and you know, it is always a joy to go and do the exotics, because this is, you're not going to see the big fancy castles. That's not what they have down there. This is about immersing yourself with the people, the food, the religions, the different cultures. All the people working on board are also local Southeast Asians as well. So they are always so excited to have guests on board, welcoming them there to their countries and stuff. And, you know, yes, our European cruises are spectacular. They are 5-star. They are great. But honestly, the people down on the Mekong, what you're going to notice if you've done one of our European cruises, down on the Mekong, they don't ever stop smiling. I've never once seen them not being smiling. They are always so excited, genuinely friendly people. And it really adds a whole other element, because they are there. They just want to help you with whatever it is you need. And it just adds a whole personalized effect to the Mekong cruise. And the Mekong has been so popular because during COVID, Vietnam and Cambodia closed themselves to the rest of the world. They handled it very, very differently. So let's say Vietnam, for instance, they have about just under 100 million people, and they had a 1/20th of the amount of cases that Canada did. They were incredible. Like it's just, they closed themselves off. It was spectacular. And they actually kept themselves closed for an extra year after the rest of the world started waking up. They kept themselves closed just to make 100% sure that their citizens were safe.
Yeah.
So as a result, the demand for this region is through the roof. We're bringing out a second ship on to the Mekong in the next couple of years because the demand is overwhelming. Right now, I can tell you January through to April of 2025 is 100% sold out.
Oh my gosh.
It's great that you guys are doing this for 26 because already we've had that season open, the 25-26 season. It's selling really, really well. So don't think just because we're talking about this, which is a year and a half away, it's something you need to book now if you want to get space, because the Mekong has proven to be overwhelmingly popular, and for very good reason. It's one of my absolute favorite river cruises to ever do. So
I'm glad you brought that up about the availability, because I even talking with some members recently about booking tours in 2026. Like, oh my God, it's so far away. Like, how do I commit to something so far away? And I just, especially with tours like this one, I try to inform, educate, people. These members don't do what we do. They don't see what we see. They don't know how in high demand certain countries are and certain destinations. And I'm really glad you brought that up about the demand for the Mekong rivers. And it's interesting that you guys are bringing a second ship on even to accommodate for that increase in interest.
Yeah, we just can't handle it because that ship only has 124 guests. It's one ship sailing on to this area. So like I said, it's been so overwhelmingly popular. We're bringing on a second ship, but it's just perfect timing to, get the opportunities to get the cabin you want, get the space and everything like that. And remember, with any of our cruises, you put down a deposit within 7 days. And again, just make sure you've taken out travel insurance with Women's Travel Club. It'll cover for anything that happens. And final payment's not due till 90 days prior. So yes, it might seem like a ways out, but it is very easy still to plan with only having to put the deposit, take your insurance. And honestly, you're set. And that way you're guaranteed your spot without it selling out before you go, oh, I think I'll look into it now. And then all of a sudden there's no space left.
It's no space. Yeah, exactly. And that does happen, unfortunately. And it's my least favorite phone call to have to make and say, unfortunately, it's fully booked. And while I'm glad it's fully booked, it means we've done something right. It's also, it's sad when I have to say no, because there genuinely isn't room. So just circling back about the culture and kind of the vibe, let's say, on the Mekong River cruise versus any European type river cruise. Europe is one of the highest tourist destinations as a continent, to begin with. So I find that when you travel to places such as anywhere in Southeast Asia, really anywhere outside of Europe, the locals, the people there, they take their jobs to the next level in terms of, this isn't just something to make money off of. This isn't something that we really want to share our culture with the people coming on these cruises. So with that being said, I know that for this cruise, there are cultural performances that are also included and meant to be happening. So do you know off the top of your head what kind of cultural performances are going to be had?
Yeah, I do. So on the ship, we always try to bring something locally themed to the area. That falls in line with Europe as well. But that really comes down to more of a, what that area is known for, whether it's music, food, things like that. Whereas Southeast Asia is known for very specific cultural dances, cultural ceremonies, things like that. So we bring on some very traditional style dances to that region, full costumes, full music. It's incredible what they get to experience down there. But even on the excursions and such, we go to Udong, which is the old religious capital, of course, of the area. And they get a traditional blessing ceremony as part of their experience when they're doing the tour of the temple and seeing all the monks. And of course, Angkor Wat is a huge highlight. It's one of the modern wonders of the world. And my recommendation, when all of your guests go, I'm not a morning person by any means, but I tell you right now, you have to get up for the sunrise tour. There'll be two options when you go to Angkor Wat. They're both included. One is to leave your hotel, yes, obnoxiously early, probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. Or the second tour always seems like the civilized choice, and you leave the hotel at 9:30 in the morning. And that, of course, is what I was doing until my cruise manager came up and said, no, you have to do the 5:30. There's no choice. I'm like, anyways, You
Excuse
get
me.
there, and the fact that you get to there to see the sunrise over the reflecting pond of Angkor Wat, you get these stunning National Geographic-esque pictures by getting up and doing it. It is beyond worth getting up at that horrific time of the morning to see this absolutely once-in-a-lifetime experience. And then I always say, you know what? You finish that off, then you are going back to the hotel probably mid-morning, and the other two are to depart. But then you've got the rest of that day free to go off and explore, see and reap. So it is twofold beneficial. Definitely have to do it. And the great thing is, the reflecting pond, it doesn't matter if you are the world's worst photographer, you're going to come out with the world's best pictures. It is a sight to behold. So
I'm glad you brought that up about the timing too, because even when I was in India to see the Taj Mahal, they're like, no, we're getting up at 4 a.m. and we're going. And in my head, I'm like, but I'm on vacation. Like that means I want to sleep in. And in the grand scheme of things, you need to think about it as it's one day. It's one morning. It's one good night's sleep. Make sure, and you're getting, like you said, best picture that you possibly could. Like you're going to come out of there with amazing memories, amazing views, things that like people, not like barely a handful of people in the world can say, yeah, I got up at 5 a.m. and Siem Reap and I went to see Angkor Wat at sunrise. And it's like, do you know what I mean? So you really have to put those little worries aside when you're thinking about such a amazing cultural tour as this. If you're going to spend the money and you're going to go, we want to make sure that you're getting the absolute most out of that experience. And in doing so, you might have to wake up a little early, but it's worth it.
It's one little day, one day, and it'll be worth it forever. I promise. So
exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we have a video that you have shared with me to display. So if you're okay, I'd be more than happy to throw that video up. I think it's
great. I mean, I talk passionately about this area, but this video is going to show you how life on board equates to all the beautiful things you see. And honestly, the Mekong goes through the heart of these areas, things that you can only see from the river, floating villages, floating markets, floating schools, and little kids coming up the side of our ship, just wanting to give you things. It will melt your hearts. So yeah, this video really brings it all in for you. So
I haven't even watched it yet, guys. I'm seeing this with you. So all right.
It's a great video. I love it. So
let's get it up here. Give me 2 seconds. So I'll have to take us off the screen and I'll pop it up. One. Wow. Sorry. I'm just like, I don't know if you can see me at all. I'm just sitting there like those views, man. Wow.
It is. It's absolutely spectacular. Hopefully that brought to light all the things we said where it's a life-changing experience to go down and see the area. And yes, I know I didn't mention that when we were chatting, but you saw some of our guests in the back of ox carts because yes, you're not going on traditional walking tours, folks. We're taking you on the transport that all the locals do. So it is a full immersive experience.
I love it. I'm so glad you brought that up because I was gonna say I had to make note of that. Like,
Of course.
that wasn't,
So
we didn't talk about that part, but
no, and
but
it's part of the fun. I love it. So
yeah. And I just, to make quick note before we move on to the next river cruise, you can really see from that video the architectural designs and thought that went into making it look like a part of the culture, you know, with the different carvings. I'm trying to think of the word, like within the chairs and even like just the stairways, like the rooms, even the furniture, everything looks so detail oriented. And I think like that's really what pushes, you know, you guys over the edge. But yeah, moving on to Colombia, because I know we have a video as well for the Columbia River Cruise that I'd love to share.
I just think it's a great way because Colombia, we're going to be the very first river cruise line to have our own product on the stunning Magdalena River in Colombia. And a lot of times there's misconceptions about certain countries and stuff. Colombia, can talk about it now, but it's the second fastest growing tourism destination in the world for a very good reason. Tons of World UNESCO listed heritage sites that you'll see along the Magdalena River. And we can talk about the elephant in the room because, of course, sometimes people think Colombia's got a bad rap. Oh, there's crime and stuff like that. Interesting fact is that the crime that everybody seems to associate with Colombia, there hasn't been an incident in over 32 years. It is old school. No need to worry. We would never, ever go to an area if there was any threat to passenger safety. But again, the warmth of the people in Colombia are spectacular. The Colombian Tourism Board sent me this little video, and I think it's just a great introduction to the destination. And then we can talk about the product after that, Ali. So
perfect. Awesome. I will take us off again. We'll throw the video up. I'll see you on the other side. Oh, that was so fun. That was so fun. It was a great intro.
I think it's just, it's spectacular. A lot of people don't know a lot of things about Colombia. And, it's such a perfect fit for us for our river cruise collection into the exotics because, again, it really fits with the discover some incredible cultural experiences, some amazing sites, wildlife experiences, and just beautiful people as well. So
definitely. And like you said, you guys are the first company to own product down in Colombia. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
Basically, we know that the ocean line started stopping in Cartagena probably about 10 or 12 years ago. So it's become a very popular cruise port. Well, the itinerary itself will start or end for us in Cartagena because that's obviously one of the port cities. And then the Magdalena River wraps itself down through the northern part of Colombia, and it ends up back on the other side, back onto the Caribbean Sea into another port city known as Barranquilla. So it's just nice to go down because it's got a huge history into this region. I always like to say Pirates of the Caribbean. We know the movie, we know the rides in Disney. It's based on fact, folks, because yes, back in the day, there was loads and loads of pirates in the Caribbean pillaging and plummeting and getting all the golds and all the jewels and such. And Colombia was one of those ports where the pirates would go and they would try to do gold trade and jewelry trade and stuff, but they'd work their way down the Magdalena River because obviously ships on the ocean can't get down the Magdalena. So they would go down there, they'd go hide their gold, they'd go hide their jewels, all sorts of things. So the Magdalena River has such a rich history, and we're going to be able to bring this vibrant history to the eyes of, all of the North Americans that are going to be able to travel on this, including all of yours from the Women's Travel Club. And they will get some incredible tours, some unique experiences, because of course, all the locals who live down here, they were used to the pirates for centuries being down there. So they actually learned to be expert jewelry makers, jewelry designers, just forging things that you've never seen before. And you're going to get a chance to experience some of those tours on the Magdalena River as well.
And I assume that they'll also maybe have the opportunity to purchase said jewelry.
Oh, yes. And the nice thing is, because they're not used, this is the nice thing, they're not used to having tourists. So
Right.
the locals, it's going to be a barter city central, folks. You're going to have amazing opportunities to get some spectacular things you've never seen before. So,
So just to circle back a bit, the Magic of Columbia River Cruise, it is happening from June 27th to July 4th of 2026. And that's obviously on the Emma Magdalena, named after, of course, the river. But I'd love to just share my screen briefly, because I think the history of this river is super interesting, and that's another component that I think would really draw in a lot of our members, because we love to bring that historical, cultural aspect, and I think that's what a lot of people love with the Women's Travel Club, to get immersed like that. So I just want to show a map outline of what this kind of river. So everybody, you see that okay, Neil?
Yeah, totally. And you know what? It's great is this is, that's following the river and such. Colombia is a huge country. It's very deep and it stretches down.
Oh yeah. If you
there you go. Yeah.
Go out.
Like if you scroll all the way down, that's Colombia on the bottom. The capital of Bogota is in the middle, nowhere near where the Magdalena River is. Now, yes, you'll fly into Bogota and then you'll connect up, but it's on the northern section. So this is the other interesting part of this country, is that people don't realize how big the country actually is. It's probably rivals the size of Ontario, honestly, as far as size, distance. And it's really important to know, because all the things we're seeing is obviously in the northern section, where all the history is, the Magdalena River, but you can see where it goes from one port city to another port city, and we kind of venture a bit further in to get all of the unique history. But I also love that I'm sure many of the people watching have heard of Carnival, especially if you are close to Toronto. We've had that Caribbean festival going on for years and years and years. And Carnival was actually invented in Colombia. So it's a part of their unique cultural history. So every time our guests are in Barranquilla, we're actually having an exclusive Carnival performance just for our guests. So the full music, the full costuming, it's, they are beyond excited to have a river cruise line coming there. So there's even a couple of days in the middle of the cruise where instead of having dinner on board, the locals want to bring all of the guests off the ship, have them eat the local foods at the local quintas and stuff, and have a big celebration with their local Cumbrian music that is also unique to the area as well. So there's going to be so many authentic experiences on this. And it doesn't even start till spring of next year. So it's, again, perfect timing that you guys are planning for 26, because honestly, we debut with our first ship in the spring. The second ship comes out in the summer of 25, but both ships are sold out for 2025.
Oh, wow.
So again, new destination, people are always intrigued. So again, perfect timing that this is planned for June of 26, because again, it's already so full already, being a new destination. So again, you'll have lots of time to get on board. But again, don't delay, even though you think it's quite a ways away, because this one, the ships only have 64 guests on board. So they are much smaller and filling much quicker. So
I was going to ask about that. Sorry, I'm going to bring you back to our faces here. But because obviously every ship is built a little bit differently, whereas you guys always kind of keep those standard amenities that are within line with AMA. But obviously not everybody's going to be the copy paste exact same. And this one is smaller in terms of the amount of people brought onto the ship. So do you find that makes a huge difference, or is that just, purely for, you should book it quicker because it's less space?
Well, yes, definitely you should book quicker because obviously there's smaller ships, but the design of a lot of times is that ports to call are smaller. They warrant having smaller ships and stuff like that. Makes it much for an intimate experience. The exotics, again, you bond even closer with the people on board, but the ships are exactly like our Mekong ships. Every single cabin is the signature twin balcony suites. So the indoor outdoor balconies, there's no portholes and things like that. We only have one restaurant because there's only 64 people on board. Right. There wasn't a need to do two. But again, the designs, the concept, the feel is the same as all of our ships is going to be, because our owner builds all of our ships. So these ships are already ready, built in Colombia, just waiting for the guests to arrive. We're just waiting on Colombia to do some things we need done for our ships to be able to get there. You know, they have that relaxed Caribbean feeling. They'll get to it when they get to it. So,
but hey, I mean, if that's kind of how you travel, then this is the perfect place for you.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So about Colombia, I just had something here. So yeah, just I'm looking at the blend of the nature, the culture, the history, just the types of excursions that are included on this one. I mean, you've got the jazz street performance, you've got the Stilt House Village tour, you've got you know, even the coffee, the Colombian coffee and tea station having, you know.
Listen, everybody knows who Juan Valdez is. He's from Colombia, and coffee is a huge, huge thing. So yes, Medellin, you get the coffee tours as well if you do that package and such. And yeah, we want to incorporate the unique music, the new obviously coffee is a huge part of their cultural, but they've got some of the most abundant bird life in the world and species you'll only see off the Magdalena River in Colombia. So when you're on a Mompox Island, part of the touring is actually going to be a nature tour as well. So it's a mix of cuisine, of wildlife, of cultural experiences. It's going to be spectacular. So
you're hitting all the marks there. That's awesome. Yeah, we try to, you know, include that with every tour we do, but you know, sometimes you can't hit all the four corners. So it's really great to see that a destination like Colombia, as you've said, has that sort of old schooly reputation. We're showing everybody the true side, the real, you know, cultural immersivity that is, you know, waiting to be had in Colombia. So that's really awesome. Moving forward now, we did just put this up on the website. So I would love to share the screen just to show the viewers, because I know they probably haven't had a chance. Our Flavors of Portugal and Spain River Cruise. Now that one is happening from May 24th to June 3rd, 2026. So just about a month before the the Colombia cruise is going out. So if you'll just bear with me for 1 second. I just want to give people a quick peek at this tour page. Okay, here we go. So yeah, Flavors of Portugal and Spain. So go on, sorry.
No, it's a good one. It's a newer itinerary. We added a second ship to the Douro River a couple of years ago. So it was always traditionally one itinerary, but this is to allow guests to actually go from Portugal, finish off in Spain, and then extend their stay and go over to the capital city of Spain, over into Madrid. So it gets the capital of Lisbon as the pre-package, capital of Spain as the post-package, and you know, a World UNESCO listed heritage area known as the Douro Valley up in the northern part of Portugal. Really a throwback to old style Europe. The fishing boats they use are, you know, from 50 years back. It's the almond groves, it's the olive trees, of course, home to the port wine. Even though it's in Europe, even though it's in Europe, it's very different. So if you've been on European river cruise, folks, before, this is a very different style European river cruise, because when you go through the Douro Valley, very, very steep cliffs and valleys that you're going through. So the river's actually sunk on the bottom of the valley. Most of the towns, there's those small little villages and stuff that are on the river, but geographically, you just can't put them there because their entire hillsides are where all the agriculture is. So then when you're actually doing the tours, you kind of meander your way up the sides of the hills to get to the towns that are kind of at the top. So it's not really a walk off, oh, you're in these areas. You really have to coach the areas. So it's different, but it's stunning because of the vibrancy of that region. And I always say there's a beautiful highlight in the middle for our Canadian guests. And I'm probably sure for most of the people listening from the Women's Travel Club. Now, if I was doing this presentation live, I'd say, okay, how many of you, raise your hands, have had a glass of Métis rosé wine in the past? And usually I get the entire room raising their hands, laughing, going, oh, yes. And I say, how many of you, after you drank the bottle, stuck a candle in the top, you decorated your house? It was a big thing to do back in the day. So, so halfway through, you go to the town of Regao. We stop there. That's actually where the Royal Métis Palace is, where the Métis wine is still made to this day. So you wander around this stunning palace and you get to sample that Métis wine that you probably sampled back in the day. So it's There it is right there. So it's a nice, that's the Binsus Palace right there. So it's
Sorry,
a
it's
nice
small.
surprise. Yeah, but it's a nice surprise for the Canadian guests on this beautiful Douro River cruise. So
No, I love that. And this one, sorry, I could scroll. So you're just showing everybody here. You have a very detailed day-by-day itinerary as well as a full list of the inclusions here for you to look at. But as I scroll, you're going to get to our details and pricing, of course, all of that fun stuff. And then once you get down here, you'll be able to read a bit about the boat itself. So this one is the AmaVida, and you get a bit of a look at each of the categories, we call them rooms.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't think of the
these
word.
ships are, even though again they're all the same core features, you know, it's got our signature twin balcony suites. You can kind of see in the picture there the indoor outdoor balconies. These are a bit of a hybrid between our full-size European ships and our exotics, because the Douro River is smaller, narrower. You can't have full-size river cruise ships. So our Portuguese ships only have 100 guests on board. So it's the smallest of our vessels over in Europe. A bit bigger than some of our exotics, but again, it's got that bit more of an intimate feel to the actual river cruise experience itself. So
beautiful. That's awesome. Sorry, I'm just, because I know we just threw it up there recently, so I haven't had time to look at it fully in detail, but from everything that I'm seeing, including some of these like look at the long double list of inclusions that have been provided for this tour.
Most people will do the 2-week version. So the cruise itself is 7 nights. You do the 3-night pre-package in the capital city of Lisbon. And it's stunning. You stay in a 5-star centrally located hotel. You get your sightseeing. We actually go to Sintra on the way up to Porto, where you board the ship. And then you can add that that post package to Madrid after. Remember, you don't have to add the pre and a post. It's up to you as to what you'd like to do. But I will say, I'd say probably about 80% of the guests add both the pre and the post, because you're getting a unique Portuguese capital city combined with a very unique Spanish capital city of Madrid. Very different cultural experiences, even though they're neighboring countries. It is 2 very different experiences. So again, I think people love the ideas of getting the highlights of both Portugal and Spain in there. So
I'm happy you said that too, because people, especially in Europe, they say, well, if you've gone to one city in Europe, you've gone to them all. I do not believe that in the slightest. I actually believe every city is a different country, you know? So if you've been to Spain, you haven't been to Portugal, and vice versa. So I like to get the most out of my experience. If I'm ever taking time off work or I'm spending the money, I'm going to do everything I can. Now, obviously, that's not an option for everybody, you know, maybe not have the time off work, or maybe I can't, you know, do the post, but I can do the pre. But we really encourage you to get the most out of your experience, to try to maximize on those pre and post availabilities, because we design them in a way to coincide with the cruise itself and to kind of piggyback it and on top and in front and whatnot, to go with the inclusions and the cultural, you know, immersion that you're going to experience. It flows. So I just wanted to make that point. If you're like, well, maybe I'll be in Spain a week by myself, and you know, you're more than welcome to do that. But I can guarantee you now, you might not be seeing it in the way that we've designed. And that's just my 2 cents on whether or not you're wavering.
I mean, because you've got Madrid. A lot of people, if they've done ocean cruises in the Med, they've probably stopped and gone to Barcelona. And Barcelona and Madrid couldn't be 2 different cities if you try. And they're both in Spain. They're 2 biggest cities. But one is the capital of the Catalan region, which is Barcelona. And then you got Madrid, which is the traditional Spanish. And it's both cities vastly different. So, and that's just within their own country. So imagine the differences between Portugal and Spain. So
exactly. I'm going to take this down now. You can see our pretty faces again. So I see we're coming up on an hour, which is totally fine, because we've got one last cruise to talk about with you guys. And that one is the Gems of, we've called the Gems of Southeast Europe. So that one, I'm just going to pull it up here, is from October 19th to the 26th. And with this one, you're cruising on the lower Danube, and you're going to hit Hungary, you're going to hit Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania. So this is a big one, I'd say. You're seeing a lot. You're doing the most.
Yeah, and again, goes with the line and the theme of Women's Travel Club. I want to get off the beaten path, because Eastern Europe, vastly different to Western Europe. So, and I was lucky enough to do this cruise a couple of years ago, and the experience is spectacular because, like I said, all these countries are Eastern European countries versus the Western European. So yes, you've got all these big, stunning castles in the Western Europe side and things like that. They're more different style architecture, different experiences, even within each country. So you'll go to some of these fortresses, and to be fair, a lot of these are ruined because Eastern Europe did not quite survive the way Western Europe did with the various wars and stuff over the centuries. So vast ruins, but again, totally different experience. Like you see some of these fortresses that are carved right into the sides of the hills on the rivers and such. You go through the oh my God, now my mind's blanking out. But you go through, the Iron Gates. These are the natural rock borders between Bulgaria and Serbia. And these are huge steep cliffs with stunning fixtures carved into the sides of them that are ginormous. We'll do this during the day. But again, it just shows the different kinds of life back in the day in this area because of the different topography of Eastern Europe. So I love it because I never ever recommend this to be the first river cruise that somebody takes, because everybody, when they think of the river cruise, they see all those lovely castles and the wineries and everything like that. And I get it. I don't want to, debunk the beautiful myths and the pictures that come out. But this experience is spectacular, but for completely different reasons. So this is where you have your second and third time river cruisers going down here, going blown away because they're just like, it's totally different to any other river cruise experience that they've had. So.
It seems that with every river cruise taken with Ama, in an indirect way, like you're getting a history lesson. It's not like you're sitting down and you're like, oh God, I'm in history class again. I'm going to take my notes. And, it's not, do you know what I mean? Like it's more of you're learning, but you don't even really know you're learning. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
It's visual learning. You're taking it all in. And honestly, your brain sits there and goes, wow, this fortress, this ruin is completely different going from Serbia to Bulgaria. And again, it's because of their background, their history and such. And honestly, it blew me away because every single country is also a different language. You're going through Western Europe, you're German, you're French. It's a lot of languages that are shared through common borders, not in Eastern Europe. They are standalone cultures, standalone experiences. And it's really what makes it fascinating. And if you're going to do this cruise, again, take advantage of the extensions that you can do to explore more of Romania. Bucharest, Transylvania, home to Dracula, you got it. And they love to show this area off. And honestly, take advantage of that 4-night package because otherwise you just get like a little snippet of Bucharest when you do your day tour, you fly out, and you don't get that full scope of just how stunning the country of Romania is and just how vast it is with the unique cultural experiences as well. So
definitely. And I'm happy that you said that this isn't something you'd recommend for a first-time river cruiser. I think it's important that, this is more so yours than mine, but your area of expertise, and you know your product best. And I think just to kind of direct a bit away from Southeast Europe, I know we're talking about it, but out of the cruises we've talked about, which one would you recommend being the best for a first-time river cruiser?
Of the ones that you guys have on slate for 25 and 26, the Rhine and Moselle is definitely the one to start with. The Rhine and Moselle encapsulates some of the castles, some of those beautiful, iconic things. But the fact that you get to go down the Moselle River, beautiful, unique experience, which, maybe it's not necessarily the one that most would choose for their first time, but the beauty of that area makes it the perfect choice to go to. So, definitely start with the Rhine and Moselle. It's great that that's the first one out of the gates for 25. And then you can, kind of venture out and experience some of the exotic ones, some of the other ones. And you'll see that river cruising is different from river to river to river. Destination, different country, different part of the world. And this is why we have people coming back year after year after year. We've got people who, they've cruised 15 to 20 times with us because they just keep discovering new areas. And the joy of our program is, remember, all those larger cities and towns, they choose the tours that they want to do. Is always a choice. So we have guests coming back doing the Danube. We're doing another area again going to see different sites.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And with this, just circling back now to Gems of Southeast Europe, I know we ran away and now we're coming back. So with there being so many different countries, what, five, I believe, five or six.
Yep.
Yeah. When it comes to that cultural immersion aspect of it, is there ways in which Ama, kind of incorporates the different cultures as we go through each of them? I mean, as it pertains to the food or the entertainment, how is
Well,
it, how do we do it all?
Yeah, the entertainment is always locally themed when we bring it on board, but some of the excursions will also be tastings tours or meet the locals kind of thing, because again, it's very unique. So it's a birding wine, or like an emerging wine region down in some of those areas. So there's some tasting tours that way. There's food tasting tours. So again, all sorts of opportunities to interact with the locals through the tour selection that they wish to do. So yeah, we always make sure that there's cultural immersion experiences both on and off the ship. So
on and off. Beautiful. Well, thank you for walking us through. I know we covered a lot, and I would really, and I know there hasn't been much conversation from the crowd. So what I'll say is, anybody who has specific questions as it pertains to any of the cruises that you've heard about today, definitely reach out. If you have any questions that you have specific for Neil, definitely let me know. We're in good enough communication, I think, that we can ask each other questions if need be. But I'm just gonna throw this up. If you have any questions, please throw them in the comment section. But just to give you our contact information as well, if you'd like to talk about that. But to kind of wrap things up, Neil, what out of what we've talked about today, I think I might know the answer, but for interview purposes, what are you most excited about for our guests to experience on a river cruise with AmaWaterways?
You know what? I just think with the Women's Travel Club, I think when people travel with the Women's Travel Club, they become part of your family, and that's what they're going to do with us. They're going to become part of our family. We're a family-owned and operated company. And we always say when our guests that come with us, they're part of the Ama family. We give everybody on board gets a gift from us after their cruise, because again, you're part of the family. And I think it's a perfect marriage between Women's Travel Club and ours, because it's that same kind of environment that we like to provide to all of our guests that we'll be able to provide to all of the guests of Women's Travel Club. So.
Well, thank you. See, I knew it. But it's true. And that's why we love working with you. And that's why we have decided to do all of these together, because it's those core values that coincide with one another. And that's why people choose AMA. That's why people choose Women's Travel Club. It's for that community aspect. It's for that family feel. It's for the intimacy. And that's another aspect of river cruising that differs from those ocean cruises, right? The boat itself, you're going to have more opportunities. Like you said, on day 2 or 3, you're going to know almost everyone's name because you get that connection aspect. So I totally agree with you. I kind of knew that was coming, but I wanted to set you up for it. So
perfect setup. I like it. So
I tried my best. I went to school for journalism. It's no big deal. But no, with that being said, Neil, I do want to take this time to thank you specifically for putting this together with me. And sitting down and taking the time out of your busy schedule to give our members some insight on who you guys are and what these cruises have in store for them. So thank you.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to welcoming them on board each and every one of those cruises that you guys have to offer. So
perfect. Well, with that, I see there's not many comments coming through. So again, if you guys need to reach out, you know where to find me. And if you have anything for Neil, I'll be sure to relay it to him. But with that being said, that's the end of this week's Travel Talk. So goodbye, everybody.
bye. Thanks, Allie.
No problem.